let's talk about something where what we think we know is often dangerously wrong. I'm talking about domestic violence. So much of our understanding is built on a foundation of myths, and frankly, it's time to tear that foundation down and get to the truth.
I'm sure you've heard this one before, right? It gets said so casually, but this simple sentence is, well, it's loaded. It's probably one of the most common and most damaging ideas out there about abusive relationships.
And look, these kinds of misconceptions, they aren't just harmless opinions. They actually build this invisible wall of shame and silence, a wall that stops people from seeing the signs, from getting help, or from even knowing how to support someone they care about. So today, we're going to start breaking that wall down. All right, so first things first. We have to unmask the real face of domestic violence. We need to get past the stereotypes and ask, who does this really affect? And what does it actually look like? So the first myth we gotta tackle is this idea that abuse only happens to a certain type of person. The truth? There is no type. Absolutely none. Domestic violence crosses every single line you can think of. Age, gender, race, religion, you name it. It affects CEOs and students, parents at home, everyone. And that leads right into another huge stereotype, that men can't be victims. Now, while stats do show most survivors are women, men absolutely can be and are abused. And they often face this unique wall of shame and disbelief, based on all these outdated ideas about masculinity. The bottom line here is simple. Everyone deserves to be safe, period. And it's also a massive misconception that abuse has to be physical, that it has to leave a bruise. The reality is, many survivors are never once hit. But abuse without bruises, we're talking emotional manipulation, total financial control, sexual coercion, that is still abuse. And it leaves these deep, invisible scars that can be just as devastating as any physical injury. Okay, all of this brings us back to that one huge question that survivors get asked all the time. It really gets to the heart of why that statement we started with, why don't they just leave, is so wrong. So let's just ask it straight up. If things are so bad, why is it so hard to just walk away? The answer, well, it's not simple. In fact, it's incredibly complex, and for many, it's downright life-threatening. Let's break down the reality of what someone is up against. First, and this is critical to understand, leaving is statistically the most dangerous time for a survivor. The risk of being stalked, threatened, or even killed goes way up. Second, abusers work hard to create total isolation. A survivor might have no money of their own, no car, no safe place to go, especially with kids. And on top of all that, there's immense pressure. From stigma, from being scared of the legal system, or even from still having feelings for their partner. That's why leaving isn't just one decision, it's a process. And many survivors have to try to leave several times before they can finally get out safely. This brings us to another really ugly myth. The idea that the survivor must have done something to provoke the abuse. Let me be crystal clear about this. No one, and I mean no one, causes another person to be abusive. Abusers make a choice. It's a choice to use violence, a choice to manipulate. Blaming the victim just piles on more shame and makes it even harder for them to reach out for help. So, if it is never the survivor's fault, then what is the real root cause here? To understand that, we have to shift our focus away from the person experiencing the abuse and onto the person who is causing it. You hear a lot of excuses, right? Oh, they just have anger issues, or it's the drinking, or a mental health problem. But here's the truth. Abuse is a choice. Yes, things like substance use can make a bad situation even worse, but they don't cause the abuse. Many abusers are perfectly calm and calculated. They can be charming and wonderful in public. This is a deliberate pattern of behavior, not a loss of control. And that right there, that brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. The single root cause of domestic violence is one person's desire to have power and control over their partner. That's it. It's not about anger, it's about authority. Every single tactic we've talked about, the physical, the emotional, the financial, it all serves one purpose: to maintain that control. Okay, so understanding all this is a huge first step, but the next one is even more important. What do we do with this knowledge? Let's talk about how every single one of us can actually become part of the solution. So why is busting these myths so critical? Well, because they have real-world consequences. These myths keep people suffering in silence, feeling afraid and alone. They literally stop well-meaning friends and family from seeing the red flags right in front of them. And they give abusers a convenient excuse to hide or justify their behavior. When we speak the truth, we create the space that people need to find help, to heal, and to get safe. And that's where you come in. You truly can make a difference just by being informed. Knowing where to turn for yourself, for a friend, for a family member is an incredibly powerful tool. If there's one number to know in Ontario, this is it. The Assaulted Women's Helpline. It's free, it's completely confidential, and it's there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a genuine lifeline. And the help doesn't stop there. There are so many amazing organizations offering specific support. You've got Luke's Place for legal help, the Barbara Sleefer Clinic for counseling, and you could always dial 211 to get connected to services right in your local area. Not to mention the shelters all across the province, which offer judgment-free support and education. So, we've pulled back the curtain. We've replaced the myths with facts. We've looked at the hard truth of what domestic violence is and why escaping is so difficult. The only question left is the one for you. Now that you know the truth, how are you going to use it? Thanks for listening.